Okay, good morning once again. I am Brandon Jamal Gardner. I am the oldest son of Cynthia Gardner. Can anyone hear me over here? On behalf of my siblings, James Clinton Gardner III, Terry Eugene Turner Jr., and Terry Lynette Turner, we want to thank each one of you for coming out and supporting us and all the love and support that we have received this week. I'm not gonna lie, this experience has not been easy for us, but one thing I know, that God makes no mistakes. We may not understand, we may be confused and have questions of why, but I do know that all things work according to his purpose, amen? Like many of us, my mom had struggles in her life. And in those struggles, it affected several relationships. For some, it was as a cousin, others as an aunt, some as a sister, and even as a friend. And for me, it was a mother to son. One thing I have maintained is that I never gave up on her and always wanted the best for my mother. At one point in my life, I had ill feelings towards my mom, but my relationship with God helped me overcome those struggles. I've learned that we should all seek to understand the struggles of others that we care for and help those in need with patience and love. If you really knew who my mom was, it was no secret that she had many struggles that she dealt with. This is not to point or call anyone out, but if we see a loved one or someone we truly care about struggling, it is our responsibility and our role to help them. We sometimes laugh at that crazy relative and wave them away by accepting their behavior or feed into their behavior. And we ignore the help they need because we feel like it's too much or that person is getting on our nerves. And we send them away knowing that they aren't able to help themselves. When someone is suffering, it is also a struggle for those who are close to them as well. And thinking back to my mom's life, I think it's very possible that some of us here today are holding on to some type of guilt or disappointment about times we felt we didn't do as much as we could or as much as we might have wanted to do. If you feel that way at all, I ask you to treat yourself with the same compassion and respect that you will offer a good friend and forgive yourself. And let me just say this. If you in this room are struggling with any area of your life, whether it's mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, don't be afraid to ask help and get the help that you need. And try not to reject the help that you need. We as a community have to start taking these issues concerning mental health and addiction more seriously and not be afraid to give up on each other. 1 John chapter 3 verse 17 says, "But if anyone has the world's goods and see his brother in need, yet closes his heart against him, how does the God's love abide in him?" Many of us in here talk the talk, but few of us seem to walk the walk. If you see anyone and yet close your ears and arms to them, does the love of God truly abide in you? The love of God should compel us to help one another. If you have a roof over your head, a refrigerator full of food, if you have a job, if you have heat in the winter, AC in the summer, you, my friends and family, have some of the world's good. How can we not share what God has entrusted us and given us? Love, compassion, understanding, patience, and forgiveness, which I'll get to in a minute. We are stewards, and one day God is going to hold us all accountable. How do you want to be remembered when you take your last breath? We may not all worship the same, and some of us here may not worship at all. But the love of God transcends any religious practice of man. The core foundations of surviving in this world are love and family. As I stand here right now, I wish I could say things to you like, I'm going to miss my mom's hugs and kisses. Or I wish I could give you a famous recipe that she was known for. But my relationship with my mom was different than a typical mother and son relationship would be. I wasn't what you may call a mama's boy. And I'm not going to lie, like I said before, growing up, I had so much anger, so much resentment towards my mom. I wanted my mom to be like a Claire Huxtable or like a Michelle Obama. I would even compare her to other moms because I wanted her to be a certain way. My mom was not a perfect individual, but who is? This is an unfortunate event that has left a void where I wish I could have several memories. But as a substitute, the memories that I don't have can be replaced with lessons. No matter how we may feel about who our parents are, at the end, we have no control of who our parents are. And as a parent, it is our responsibility to protect our children. I've experienced several emotions throughout my life because the communication between my mom at one point was very limited. As a child, I didn't understand why my mom was not there. And I believe the adults around me growing up had a hard time explaining that as well. It wasn't until after I graduated from college when I felt my mom and our relationship mended. And at that time, I was also struggling with my own personal relationship with God. I was broke, didn't have a place of my own. I was jobless and hopeless. We would talk on the phone sporadically, it seemed. And one day, when we were talking on the phone, something I believe it to be the Holy Spirit, came over me to ask my mom the why, the who, the what, the when, the where, and the how. I will leave that conversation between me and her. But I realized at that moment that my mom did everything in her power to protect us. I could tell that she had regrets in her life, but I always reminded her that the past is the past. All we can do is move forward and start all over. In Philippians chapter 3, verses 13, it says, "Brothers and sisters, I do not consider myself yet to have taken hold of it, but one thing I do, forgetting what is behind and straining toward what is ahead." Amen. We spend way too much time thinking about what we could have, what we should have, what we could have, would have done, instead of focusing on what we could do now. We can't move forward if we're still beating ourselves up about the past. We still feel hurt about something someone did or said years ago, while that other person out there is living that good life. And we're still holding a grudge. I'm not saying forgetting the past doesn't mean to wipe out the memories. It means that we have to make a conscious decision not to let the past absorb our attention and hinder our progress. If we can move our thoughts and let go, we are choosing to be free from our past. We are positioning to focus on the future and what God has in mind. I remember vividly asking my mom for forgiveness. I remember asking her for forgiveness for hating her, for not loving her. And I told her that I forgave her also. Even in the later years, she taught me that the best thing that she could have was that forgiveness. And that is sometimes the hardest form of love to achieve or even to give. When I forgave my mother that day is when my life started to change and doors started opening up for me. And sometimes forgiveness is not about the other person. Forgiveness is something that sometimes you have to do for yourself. Until you can forgive, you can continue to carry out hurt, anger, sorrow, all deep emotions that affect your body. the way that you see yourself, the way that you see other people, and the way that you see the world. Not forgiving can get you stuck in all these type of emotions. I found this quote on Google, and it says, "The truth is, unless you let go, unless you forgive yourself, unless you forgive the situation, unless you realize that the situation is over, you cannot move forward." I learned how to let go and let God handle it. If you're holding a grudge or still have anger against someone, and you're wondering why your life isn't changing or why it's not moving forward, I encourage you to be the bigger person and forgive them. I guarantee your life will change. Amen. Every time I spoke to my mom, I felt each of our conversation grew with love and forgiveness. I began to accept her for who she was and accepted nothing more and nothing less from her. And I am very grateful for my relationship I had with her. I may not have agreed with everything, but that was not my decision to make. It wasn't my decision to judge her, but to love her and to forgive her. And I know for a fact that my mom loved me. And she was proud because she told me every opportunity she had that she loved me. She was proud of the man that I became. She was proud to be a grandmother. My mother's death was unexpected. And I wish I could stand here and have new memories between her, between my family, between my brothers and sisters, between her grandchild and her future grandchild. And just moments just between me and her. My mom loved to drink, she loved cigarettes, she loved to talk, she loved to laugh. At the end of the day, that was Cynthia, Gardner, and that was my mama. Cynthia, mommy, papa, I love you. We love you. And thank you for teaching me that in the end, love conquers and forgiveness all.